And let's go right ahead and talk about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. Actually, before I do that, I do want to say that there is an NBA preseason game that's going on. Yeah, it is. I called it the season opener, but honestly, like it's really an NBA opener because yay, we have NBA basketball and it's preseason basketball. So the Nuggets, they're matching up against the Celtics, and right now the Nuggets are up 32-28. Just letting you guys know. Russell Westbrook scored his first bucket as a Denver Nugget. And guess what? It was a three-pointer. Oh my goodness. But yes, anyways, aside from all of that, Jimmy Butler. Let's focus on Jimmy Butler. So, as you guys know, throughout the offseason, there has been a little bit of tension between, Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. A lot of people were, and myself included, suspected that this would mean that this would be Jimmy Butler's last year. And I personally thought that the Miami Heat should have tried trading him, but it doesn't really seem like that's what's going on. So, according to this article from Bleacher Report, it starts with Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler may be softening his stance about playing out the rest of his current contract before signing a new deal. Now, on the latest episode of the Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN's Brian Windhorst reported that Butler wants to be in Miami, quote, wants to be in Miami, and his goal of getting another contract from the Heat. Now, another quote from Windhorst says, a few things on the Heat. One, as far as I know, I think Jimmy Butler wants to be in Miami. His goal is to get another contract from the Heat. He also, I think, has a player option in his contract, which I think his intention is to probably waive and become a free agent, but he still has that out there. So ESPN's Tim McMahon added additional perspective, saying maybe Jimmy follows through on what he says. Like, hey, contract year, this is a prove-it type of year for me, and he's all business. No one questions his ability to play the game and impact winning when he's on the floor. But if you talk to people around the league and say, who's the next big name or star caliber player who gets traded, there are at least some eyes on Jimmy Butler. So there seemed to be some disconnect between Butler and the Heat in the wake of the team's first round playoff loss to the Boston Celtics at the end of the season. And if you guys didn't hear the story, I already talked about this story, but Jimmy Butler, after the Celtics ended up winning after the Heat, ended up winning in Game 1, Jimmy Butler was quick to Instagram and started trolling, for lack of a better term. And then a fan recorded him saying that if he was in the game and if he was playing that the Boston Celtics would lose, and if he was playing that the Knicks would also lose. And Pat Riley had a lot to say to that, and he addressed that comment in a very blunt manner during the end of the season with, quote, if you're not on the court playing, you should keep your mouth shut, end quote. And quite frankly, that is exactly what Jimmy Butler should have done. I don't agree with what he said. I think it took a lot of guts to say that in front of the camera, but at the end of the day, that's just incredibly disrespectful. And a lot of people, they like to argue that Jimmy did that for the attention, and a lot of people think that Jimmy Butler loves the attention, and one of the biggest pointers to that is this picture right here. I mean, look at him. That's like around a 34-year-old man dressing up and acting like an emo teenager. And a lot of people think that he's doing that for attention. Personally, I don't care what he does with his hair. I don't care what he tries to do for media day. I don't really care if he's all this and all that. I just like watching good basketball. And he knows how to play some good basketball from time to time. I do think the fans slightly overrate him a little bit in the postseason, but aside from that, he does know how to play. And all of that off-court stuff, I mean, I don't know how I really feel about that. If I was a manager of him, I definitely wouldn't want to be someone that has to deal with all of that. However, at the end of the day, I feel like I'd have to suck it up because he is producing wins, at least in the postseason. I mean, in the regular season, you can make that argument where it's he doesn't really take the regular season all that seriously, and he really starts trying in the postseason, which is why he gets a lot of the respect and fan appreciation that he does, which really makes no sense in my opinion. But that's besides the point. So, as trade rumors started popping up involving Jimmy Butler over the summer, Shams Charania reported that the six-time All-Star would not sign an extension with the Heat or any other team before his opt-out after the 2024-2025 season. So obviously, a lot of questions were going to arise, and a lot of people were going to be like, wait a minute, is this going to be Jimmy Butler's last year? And, excuse me. So for this season, he's owed to be making about like $48.8 million with a $52.4 million player option for the 2025 and 2026 season. He is currently eligible to either sign a one-year $58.6 million extension that would keep his 2025-2026 option intact, or a two-year $112.9 million extension that would void the 2025 and 2026 player option. So the Heat are currently $1.2 million under the second apron, however, this season, and $12.1 million under the second apron. So with Butler's option factored in, I should let you know. Now, even though Jimmy Butler is a fantastic player, his age and durability is really, really concerning, and it might make the Heat reluctant to offer him a full max deal. And he just turned 35 in September 14th, and he's missed 100 games during the first 5 seasons in Miami. And he's averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game in 60 starts last season. The Heat ended up finishing 46-36, earned the 8th seed in the playoffs by defeating the Chicago Bulls in the play-in tournament. And, you know, like, again, this doesn't really, on paper, like, based off of what I just said, that doesn't really sound like a max contract kind of player. Especially since he barely produces in the regular season, but the value from him is mainly in the postseason. However, that's a little bit over-exaggerated, I should say, because yes, he is a pretty good playoff performer, but most of his great playoff performances come in the first round. Last time he made the NBA Finals, I remembered there was a huge drop-off in points and production in every single later round that started in the postseason. So in the first round, he played phenomenally. Then in the second round, he played great. Third round, in the conference finals, he played good, and not even good to mediocre, you can make that argument. And then in the finals, he was bad. So if you noticed, it was a steady trend of just, starting out good, then being a little bit worse, then starting to get even worse, and to the point being really, really bad. So it's like that production in the postseason, and his production in the postseason, at least in my opinion, because of the fact that his performance is constantly kept on hindering as the rounds progressed, I think playoff Jimmy Butler is a little bit overrated. That's just my opinion, however. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys think that playoff Jimmy is real? I mean, I know he's real. Like, I know he's real in the first round, but it's like the rounds after that, he's proven that his production is just nowhere near the same as it is in the earlier rounds. And I'm like, I can't say you're a good playoff performer if every single time the lights get brighter, you end up playing a little bit worse. That's just my opinion, however. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys think that playoff Jimmy Butler is real, and if you guys think that he is a good playoff performer, or maybe you actually agree with me. Again, let me know in the comments. But that's all that I have for this second segment. So now we'll go ahead and go into the third segment where we talk about James Harden and how he feels that he changed the NBA, and we'll talk about that right after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.